Welcome back to Spark Recaps. Today, we're diving into the haunting 2021 horror drama Girl in the Basement, a film that will leave you on the edge of your seat. The movie begins with a heart-wrenching scene. Sarah and her domineering father, Don, are racing to the hospital as Sarah's young daughter, Marie, fights for her life. The tension is palpable as Sarah begs Don to drive faster. At the hospital, paramedics work tirelessly to save Marie, but despite their efforts, her life slips away. This tragic moment sets the stage for the story, which then rewinds 20 years to reveal the origins of Sarah's unimaginable ordeal. At first glance, Sarah's family seems ordinary. She lives with her parents, Don and Irene, and her younger sister, Amy. However, cracks in this facade quickly appear. Don's controlling nature surfaces when he forbids Sarah from attending a party, asserting his authority over the household. Defiant, Sarah sneaks out that night with her boyfriend, Chris. The two share a magical evening, with Chris serenading her with a song he wrote just for her, deepening their bond. The next morning, Sarah returns home to face Don's wrath. Their confrontation escalates and Sarah boldly declares her plans to leave home once she turns 18. She shares her dreams of traveling and working independently with her mother and sister, unaware that Don is eavesdropping. His possessive instincts are triggered, and he retreats to the basement, where he reveals a hidden soundproof room concealed behind a bookshelf, a space that will soon become Sarah's prison. Months later, on Sarah's graduation day, Don lures her into the basement under the pretense of needing help with a box. Once inside the hidden room, he locks her in and coldly explains that the space was originally built as a bomb shelter. Sarah's desperate screams for help are muffled by the soundproofing. Irene grows concerned about Sarah's sudden disappearance and contacts the police, but Don convinces them that Sarah has run away to pursue her dreams. Trapped in the basement, Sarah begins to grasp the full extent of Don's cruelty. He imposes harsh rules, forcing her to earn basic necessities like clean air. When Chris comes looking for Sarah, Don spins a lie, claiming she left town with another man. Days turn into weeks, and Sarah endures Don's abuse. On her 18th birthday, he brings her a cake and a nightgown, further tightening his grip on her life. As time passes, Sarah becomes pregnant. Alone in the basement, she gives birth to a baby girl, Marie. 4 years later, she has another child, a son named Michael. Despite her dire circumstances, Sarah creates a nurturing environment for her children, using imaginative bedtime stories to keep their spirits alive. Above ground, Don maintains a double life. To Irene and Amy, he appears to be a concerned family man, while secretly controlling Sarah and her children in the basement. Irene's suspicions grow, and she suggests hiring a private investigator, but Don vehemently opposes the idea. Years later, Sarah gives birth to a third child, Thomas. She convinces Don to let the baby live upstairs, claiming there's no room left in the basement and that she can't care for another child. Don leaves the baby on the porch with a note supposedly written by Sarah, asking Irene to raise him. However, he discovers a hidden plea for help in the note and punishes Sarah for attempting to reach out. Life in captivity drags on, with Sarah and her children relying on their imaginations to cope. After 14 years, Marie, now a teenager, begins to yearn for freedom. One day, Sarah notices a leak in the basement ceiling. Using a spoon, she digs through the damp area, eventually reaching the surface and signaling for help. A neighbor spots the signal and informs Don, but instead of addressing the situation, Don beats Sarah, causing her to miscarry her latest pregnancy. Amid the suffocating confines of the basement, Sarah's nightmare deepens with unimaginable tragedy. After enduring a stillbirth, she's left to mourn alone as Don, cold and unyielding, buries the tiny body in their yard. His visits to the basement are a cruel ritual, alternating between bitter complaints and disturbing praise for Thomas, who has grown into a promising young athlete under Don's manipulation. Marie and Michael's growing curiosity about the world beyond their prison leads to relentless questions. They demand to know when they'll be allowed outside. Don deflects their inquiries with venomous accusations, blaming Sarah for their captivity and painting her as the cause of their plight. Under the weight of her children's questions and her unbearable reality, Sarah reaches her breaking point. In a storm of rage and frustration, she destroys their makeshift furniture, leaving their home in shambles. Collapsing from exhaustion, she is consumed by memories of her happiest days with Chris, the love she was torn away from so long ago. Moved by her despair, Marie and Michael tenderly cover Sarah with a blanket and quietly restore order to their shattered home. Their small, compassionate gestures break through Sarah's walls, and she resolves to tell them the truth. For years, they'd clung to a fragile illusion that Dawn lived upstairs with Aunt Irene to care for their brother Thomas. But now, Sarah unveils the grim reality. She tells them their favorite bedtime story was inspired by her life and reveals the unthinkable, that Dawn is both her father and theirs. The truth lands like a thunderclap. Marie, overwhelmed, suffers a severe asthma attack. In their despair, the children begin to question their very existence. Sarah, heartbroken, reassures them, placing the blame squarely on Dawn and reminding them of her unwavering love. As the years grind on, tensions escalate. Dawn's cruel words spark a confrontation with Michael, and their already meager food supply is rationed further due to Dawn's financial woes. When Dawn loses his job and the house faces foreclosure, his desperation takes a sinister turn. He attempts to poison the basement's air by connecting car exhaust fumes to their vent. Fate intervenes as young Thomas unknowingly interrupts the act, saving his mother and siblings from certain death. But life in the basement continues its relentless cruelty. Marie's health declines rapidly, leaving her on the brink. Sarah pleads with Dawn to take her to the hospital, promising silence about their captivity. He agrees, but leaves Michael behind, a twisted assurance of her compliance. The story circles back to the film's opening. Marie, barely clinging to life, is rushed to the hospital. The doctors stabilize her, but Sarah's mind races with thoughts of escape. Seizing her chance, she spills water on the medical forms and slips away to find help. A moment of bravery leads her to a nurse, to whom she confesses her horrifying reality. The police act swiftly, rescuing Michael from the basement. Irene and Thomas are left shattered by the truth as they witness the devastating condition of the boy they'd been kept apart from for so long. Meanwhile, Dawn watches helplessly from the back of a police car as his monstrous crimes come to light. The sun shines brighter than it ever has for Sarah and her children. Freed from their prison, they find solace in each other's company. On a warm summer day, they play in the countryside, their laughter ringing through the air. Sarah sits on the porch with Irene and Amy, watching the scene unfold with a quiet, hard-won joy. The sound of a motorcycle heralds a new chapter. Chris arrives, his heart heavy with regret for not searching harder for Sarah. He presents her with a gift, a pink motorcycle helmet he had bought for her years ago, a symbol of the dreams they had once shared. Together, they set out on the open road, embracing a future that had been stolen but is now theirs to reclaim. After years of darkness, Sarah finally basks in the light of freedom, her resilience and love guiding her family to a new beginning. Before we continue, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Spark Recaps for more gripping stories. Hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest content. Your support means the world to us.